Yeah.
Court will come to order. It is Wednesday, June the 30th, 2021. It's 9 o'clock in the morning, and Commissioners Court of Kerr County is now in session for a budget workshop. I was just teasing Commissioner Balloon. I know exactly when it's 9 o'clock. That's when he's here.
I don't come early.
Well, you got a regular job too. You know. Okay, so Commissioner Moser.
Judge, if I may, I'd like to thank James Robles and Tanya for this budget workshop book, okay? And all the departments contributed. We got it in advance. It's an advantage to be able to look through this thing in a timely way before the budget workshop. So well done by all. There's 43 budget items in here today, so we got a lot to do, but publicly, let me just thank you guys very, very much and all the departments that did this. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. Well done, well organized, and the pages are all numbered.
Sequentially.
Thank you.
I'll second.
We've got Judge Emerson with us this morning. I see that. Let's go ahead and start with the 198th District Court and the Special Court for Drug Court. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have.
I've went through it, I look on mine in there and it says, okay. The way I do this, Judge, and you've heard it before, I don't look at what's this year's budget. I look at the previous actuals, compared it to what you're asking for this year. And this is true of everything in here. And then I look at what changed. And the actual in 2019, you're at 346,000. This year at 350,000. So, and very little change in any of them. Good job.
Thank you. And for what it's worth, I would anticipate the budget actually going down next year. We're trying to be fairly conservative because we don't know exactly what the impact of the new public defender's office will be. So we have more money built into the engine of defense than we probably need.
Okay.
But we're a little concerned about conflicts and we won't know the numbers until we make it through a year.
Okay.
And we're off to a good start with the PDO.
They're doing well.
And we've made provision for them. They've got both first and second floor over there in the new buildings.
Good. That'll make it happen.
So you want us to take some things out of your budget then?
I would prefer you not, but thank you. I'll sit down before you do so.
You're a good witness, you know, when you're just shut up and sit down when it's the right time. Good job, though.
So this time next year, you actually anticipate that you're going to say we didn't use this much for the indigent defense?
I believe so.
Okay.
How are we doing on the drug court?
Drug court is doing well. We graduated 2 people recently. We have half dozen more that have been accepted into the program. And at some point, we're going to have to figure a way, either through grants or one way or another, to increase our resources. But right now, we're still running with all volunteers.
Good.
Including the defense attorney who's volunteering her time.
Good.
Just for the record, you reduced it from 21,000 actual to 20,000 request. So there you go. You're on a roll.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
216th District Court.
I'll bet.
Okay. Doing number 2?
I'm not as familiar with Judge Patilla's budget as I am mine, but I know he increased when the judges recommended on the court-appointed attorney a little bit to match up the same with what we had in the 198th. But I would make the same announcement. It's hoping that we don't use the money, but we're a little concerned that we might have to.
Yeah, he increased his 50% from actual of 20,000 to and that's what I'm going on.
Which line item are you looking
What about
at?
it? Oh, court appointed services?
Yeah, the 402, 435, 402, I think is what it is. Or maybe
Projected year end's
401.
186. Judge Kelly had recommended 110, and it looks like Judge Patilla put in 150.
But maybe let me get a straight edge
You've got,
here so I can find
yeah.
it. It's too hard to.
Yeah, you're on the right line.
Okay. However, the actual the year before was 33,000, so is
Oh,
requesting.
you're looking at the services. I'm sorry,
I'm
I'm looking at the
looking
line
at
item.
court
below.
appointed services. Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
The attorneys are 402 and the
Yeah,
services
yeah.
are 401.
401 is what I'm looking at.
Okay.
So,
He's got 150. I put in 110. And budget last year was 163. Is that right? Is that right, James?
Yeah, 163.
Yeah, this year, I didn't, that's what I meant, I'm sorry, current year.
And then court-appointed services where Commissioner Mosier was discussing.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Yeah.
Projected year-end looks like it's about 30,500, and looks like he recommended 30.
Well, and it's sort of the trend, the year before that it was 33.5, so, and it's the year, projected year, but year-to-date actual is only 7,000, so. Anyway,
That's a COVID reflection.
Yes, exactly. This is,
That's an anomaly.
shouldn't
It's
even be
not-
looked at, really.
I don't look at that, so I was
Okay.
looking at actual.
Okay.
So anyway, previous year, prior to that, it looks reasonable, so, okay, good enough for me.
Very
I'm
good.
good.
You don't have
Thank you.
anything to say about the disparity there, Judge? I mean, your recommendation versus what Judge Patillo had?
Other than, I think I agree that with Judge Emerson, that I don't think we're gonna spend the 110, I don't think we're gonna spend the 150, to tell you the truth. I think the PDO is gonna pick up most of that. That was the whole purpose of the public defender's
Yeah.
office.
So what do we want to budget?
Uh, That's,
We would be, what you're saying is we would be safe based on the current trend and how we're catching up. Be safe to go with your recommendation?
I think so, but I'm not gonna necessarily disagree with Judge Patillo on this.
Maybe we should.
That's a lot of fat in there if that's not necessary.
The problem
Pretty-
is we
pretty
just,
big figure.
statistically, we just don't know.
I know.
Their case volume has hit the point where we're running into more and more conflicts, where they're kicking cases back, saying we can't take this case because we have a conflict. And so we're appointing more private attorneys to fill those gaps, and I don't know where that's gonna fall out.
Maybe we should take a look at this, and when we get to the end of this process, and where we stand overall, and we've got an item here of potential reduction because of PDO help. Maybe we ought to look at that and say whether or not we take some, as you say, fat out of it.
The only way, or my recommendation would be to get an accurate or semi-accurate prediction would be if the auditor's office could maybe pull numbers. You finalize the budget in August, is that right, or July?
September, yeah.
In
Well,
July.
but the
Yeah,
numbers are,
yeah, July, essentially.
maybe mid-July, pull the last 3 or 4 months and see what the average monthly expenditure is for court
Okay,
appointed.
that's good.
And then you're still gonna have to increase it a little bit because the bills won't be in unless the cases have settled.
Okay,
But historically, your court has had higher indigent defense costs than 216.
okay.
And I think that's because you've got Bandera and 216 has Gillespie.
However, I think that's changing.
Well, I suspect.
Unfortunately, the filings in Gillespie are increasing dramatically.
Okay, so Tanya will note there's a potential, when we get to toward the end of this thing, how it looks overall, we might go back and look at the positive impact of PDO.
Yes,
Good.
I agree with that.
Okay, good.
Well, and just to clarify, in response to Commissioner Blue's question, I budgeted 150,000 for the 198. I budgeted 110 for the 216 based on their historical usage. Okay, and all Judge Patillo's done is put in 150, just exactly like the 198.
Right.
That I had budgeted 150. And again, we're not sure, but we think that we're going to do better than that number. I understand why Judge Patillo wants to be treated the same. And with what's happening in Gillespie County, that may not be unwise. Just and before we cut it at this point, I'd really like Judge Patillo to have a chance to come in and talk to us.
That's what I'd like, yeah.
Good.
And we'll,
That'd be good.
but I mean, for a workshop today, I think we're okay.
Okay.
Well, to just do them both the same because they're similar.
Well,
operations,
and
but there are some
we're-
distinguishing.
we are in the birthing pains of this public defender's office, and it is doing exceptionally well, and we're expecting substantial savings, but we just don't know. And as we go through this process of finding out how many conflicts we have and how many private attorneys we're going to have to appoint, it's just like water. We will find our own level here. We're just not there yet. So what we're working with here are we're estimating where we think we're going to be. We know we're better than we have been historically. It used to be we're talking to spend your court would spend maybe almost $250,000 a year, and that's what we were looking at. And now, by consensus for the 198th, we have it down to 150, and even for the 216th, to leave it at 150 at this point and wait to see how we do. As long as we don't have to raise the tax rate, I don't have a problem with it. If that's going to cause us to raise the tax rate, I'm going to have a problem with it.
Yeah. I think Judge Emerson has a good suggestion. Do a sonogram in a couple of months and see where this earth is.
Yeah.
All right.
Very good, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Constable Precinct 1.
Let's see.
No Tommy.
Looks good to me, Judge.
Well, we're not gonna chop it. Let's put
Yeah.
it that way.
Looks good to me.
Okay. Information technology.
Bruce,
Yes, sir.
talk a little bit about capital outlay. Now, Bruce and I, just full disclosure, talked about this a little bit. And I asked Bruce, I said, if you look at all the IT equipment we have, not even setting the software aside for just a moment. If you rack it up, what was the number you came up with? About,
The current value,
yeah,
not replacement value, but current value was about $2.5 million.
okay. But if it's replacing it, it would be-
Replacement value is
it'd be
gonna be
more.
probably
So if
another
you
million.
look, if you look at the equipment that we have in the effective life, efficient life is 5 years or so.
Max.
So it says 20%, probably ought to plan on replacing 20% of what your equipment is per year. 20% of $3 million is $600,000, okay? 600,000, you're at 800,000, okay? So, that's a lot of money,
Granted,
but it's realistic to
Yes,
to
it
put
is.
something in the budget like this that looks at, we can't wait till we
No.
all of a sudden come in like we have in the past.
I'd rather be proactive than reactive.
Right. So, to me, you're, I don't know what all the details are on the capital outlay request, but in the 30,000 foot view, it looks pretty good, okay? I have one other question, I don't want to hog this, but you have, make sure I'm on the right line item here. Telephone going up from actuals of 91,000 to 104,000. Why are telephones going up so much?
A lot of that is we increased bandwidth we had to add for all of the remote access.
Okay,
That was the biggest chunk
so
of that.
it's a system change.
Right.
Okay. Well, since you have it down to the nearest dollar, I assume you know exactly.
Well,
what-
until they change it again.
Okay, all right, good enough.
Anything else for Bruce?
Yes, have you, is it in your budget, Bruce, and if so, where is it, this upgraded equipment that Commissioner Mosier was talking about?
That would be in the capital outlay, in the
It's
40857.
figured into the capital outlay?
Yes.
And so, percentage, what we were talking about a moment ago is to replace everything, or to upgrade everything would cost about a third again as much as
Right.
what.
And that's just because of availability.
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. Is this stuff available now?
It's hit and
Yeah,
miss.
you mean-
It's hit and miss. Some of it has long lead times, like the servers.
Yeah.
New servers are anywhere 6 to 8 weeks. So if you have one go down,
Yeah.
you better be ready.
But that's in here in the budget?
That's in that.
Okay, in the capital line.
At some point, Bruce, we really need to, following up on the conversation I had with Mr. Elliott on Monday, we really need an explanation of exactly what this capital outlay is going to be for.
Okay.
We understand at this point, this is certainly a placeholder number for the time being, but we're going to need a little bit more detailed explanation.
Understood.
And I know that he had circumstances on Monday, but we're going to need to either put it on the agenda or have a little mini workshop or something.
All right.
To understand what we're going to have to do.
I agree.
Okay. Anything else on
That was good.
IT? Thank you. Road and Bridge.
Sure you saw a pretty big increase in our budget. Some of that money is for the repair of Ranchero Road, so, and the other part, just as a reminder, I reduced our maintenance budget for this current fiscal year that we're in. I knocked 15 miles off of that, and that's so less material cost.
Kelly, if I take Ranchero Road out of there, you're requesting a 20% increase over what the actual was in 2019, 2020. That's a big increase. So I look through the line items that you have, and for instance, you've got a 50% increase in fuel, which is probably, in light of today's fuel prices, probably reasonable, okay? And even though it's high, it's big. But another question I've got is, you got a 60% increase in aggregate. Why aggregate go up so much?
Well, we started out last year, we were using a rock from Wheatcraft that was not a crushed rock. And we had problems with it, and it was at $20 a ton.
Yeah, I remember.
So we ended up asking them if they could crush the rock. So that increased the cost. That brought it up to $25 a ton. In my numbers too, I have figured a 5% over in case there is a price change halfway through the budget, which in the material bid packet, vendors, if they have to make a price increase, they have to put it in writing to us, and we have had some of our vendors, it hasn't been with Wheatcraft, but some of our emulsion vendors and cold mix vendors have made price changes halfway through our bid prices. We usually put an extra 3%, but just not knowing the way things are going to go this upcoming year, I put 5% on top of our numbers. Also, our emulsion, we have switched to the CRS 2P, and that's a polymer additive. The CRS 2 emulsion we were using for many, many years didn't really cause us any problems up until probably the last 5 years. We started to notice that we were having problems with rock retention.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about aggregate.
Right, and it's just we've switched to a crushed aggregate, and we weren't having crushed aggregate before. So it went to, if we don't pick it up, if we pick it up, it's $25 a ton. If we have them deliver it, it is $31.80 a ton.
Well, let me cut it short. Okay, actual, and I misspoke a while ago, actual in 2019-20 was 101,000, and you're requesting 278,000. That's big.
Yeah.
I think you need to go back and look at that. I mean, what does it mean? Because we talked about, we got rid of the basalt a couple years ago because it was, people hated it.
Yeah.
Okay, even though it was some people's eyes pretty. Okay, all in the eyes of the beholder. I think you need to take a look at that and see if it's worth that, 100 and, almost 200% increase, 175.
Some of it too is it just depends on that year. what sort of rain events we had.
No, aggregate, I'm just talking
We
about.
may not have been able to get, 50 miles in.
Okay, why don't you go back and take a look at that, if
Okay.
you will? See if you can't reduce that 277. I think the judge recommended 143, which is pretty consistent with the others, so it seemed to me like we could take 100,000 out of that pretty easy and still have a big increase over what was actual a year or two ago. So,
And on the line item on asphalts and oils, that's another huge,
We switched from the CRS2 to the CRS2P, so there's an increase in that. That oil has a polymer. We used it on Northwest Hills, on the big hill, going into Northwest Hills. And if you look at that road through the winter storm Uri, there was no issues with that road. We had no rock retention issues. Everywhere where we have used the CRS2P, we don't have any rock retention issues. The CRS2, which they've used forever, I think that they have refined it and refined it and refined it, and it is at a point that the rock won't stick to it. And each year, it has gotten worse and worse. So the CRS2P, because of the polymer in it, it's more expensive oil. But I have talked to our neighboring counties, and Bandera has used it forever. Kendall County uses it. Kendall County contracts out all of their work, so they're not actually the ones putting their rock and oil down. They contract it all out. But Bandera does their own work like we do. And I had asked them, are you having any rock retention problems? And they said no. And I
so when we look at the year-to-date actual column
Mhm.
in the middle of the page, we've reduced the maintenance this year by what, 15 miles?
yes.
And that's why that number is significantly lower. That's 119. And yet we're projecting that we're actually going to spend 593,000?
Well, like I said, in there, I put an extra 5% in rock and oil, just in case there's any price increases. If the court feels comfortable taking 5% off of both of those numbers, that'll work for me. It's just if we have a significant price increase halfway through our bid prices, that will reduce, we'll have to stop once we run out of money.
Well, what I'm looking at here is your budget for this year is 326.5. I put in 327. We spent 119, and now we're looking at 593 for next year.
that's a 60% increase.
Yep.
That's too much.
Okay. I mean, I don't have to do 50 miles. I can reduce it down to 35.
Now, we're just looking at price of the oil, not the number of miles.
Well, like I said, the oil that we're using is more expensive than the oil that we have used.
The CRS2 that we used last year didn't hold up to the winter storm Uri on Herman Sun Road. Road we just
Yeah, but
redid last year. It did crack.
last winter was a record problem, okay? Record. So what if we bet on the come, we're not gonna have another Uri?
Well, Kelly, what I'm trying to figure out is, why am I missing it?
Well, like I said, we did less. I still haven't completed, I don't even know if we'll hit 35 miles this
Oh,
year.
we're significantly under budget. I mean, the budget was 326.5.
Yeah,
And I put in 327 thinking that would be comparable.
yeah,
And it turns out it's almost 600.
yeah. Like I said, the rock has gone up because we're having it crushed. We're using a different emulsion. We're using an emulsion that's more expensive. And then, on top of that, just not knowing where prices next year are gonna go, I added 5% on top, just to make sure that, which, like I said, I can pull that out and,
Well, I agree with Commissioner Moser. What I would like to see is the detailed calculation of how we came up with these numbers from last year to this year, regardless of what our actual is. We appreciate the actuals are down.
yeah.
But when we budgeted 326 last year, 326.5, and I put in 327 for this year, I really need to see how we got from there up to almost 600,000.
Okay.
And the same thing with aggregates
Okay.
that Commissioner Moses was talking about.
Yeah.
Just come in and show us so we can figure it out, and that way we'll know if we need to adjust some of the metrics here.
Yeah.
Is there some piece of equipment or something that we've purchased that we're missing here? That's what I'm looking for. There was a large equipment purchase this year, wasn't it?
Well, if you look over at the capital outlay on the second page,
Yeah.
you'll see
You're not counting any of that in this.
She's got a separate line.
Yeah, I've got a
I
capital
know,
outlay.
I know that. You've got a $30,000 contingency in here too. Is that,
We've always had
That's
that, and
jumped
it
up
used
a
to
point.
have, we used to have contract fees, and we got rid of the contract fees and rolled everything into contingency. That's just, I mean,
Well, and just so
So the
you know,
county has a
I'm good.
contingency.
I'm good with contingencies.
yeah.
and I
At
actually
the
lowered
county
it a
level
little
as well
bit
as
too.
at the department level, as long as they're reasonable. I'm not trying to
Well,
double dip.
But my point is that the county has a contingency fund.
We do.
And so why do we need these in any of these really? We have a contingency fund. Roads
Well-
obviously are at the top of the list. Roads and IT and law enforcement. So I don't know why we need it in any of them, to be honest, as part of a
Well-
budget.
I understand your point.
Would the county auditor
But
agree
in
that
terms
that's
of-
okay to have a county contingency? Or should it always be in the budget of the department?
I like it being in the different funds that we have, just so that we're not expecting anything to come out of general fund that may not have been planned. So having it in road and bridge lets Kelly have more.
Management flexibility.
Flexibility.
That's the word I was looking for.
Okay.
And in her budget, when she's looking at increases that she hasn't expected.
Kelly, you're on your capital outlay,
Mm-hmm.
okay? It's gone up 100% from actual to here, and 100% from the current budget. So it's gone from ballpark 140,000 to 300,000.
Right.
What's the reason for that?
Well, we've submitted for a tandem axle dump truck, 2 John Deere mowing tractors, and a additional road broom. So that's what's in there, is 2 John Deere tractors, a road broom, and a tandem axle 12 to 14 yard dump truck.
Okay, so that's things that we discussed specific. Maybe we should do the same thing with departments that have big equipment expenses like IT, okay? You know, maybe we ought to look at, a dump truck lasts for 15 years, I don't know, 10 years, okay? And just plan on saying, okay, I'm gonna have to replace this equipment on some cycle so we can see it in the budget and plan on it rather than talk about each piece of equipment at each year, because it's hard to, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us have any idea of the specifics what you do need. You know what it is, but from the budget process, you ought to plan on replacements.
I know we had submitted something to the court a couple of years ago that we had given the life expectancy of all of our equipment, and not sure really where that went after we sent that out.
Yeah.
But we did put together a spreadsheet that kind of said, a maintainer on average, will last you 20 years.
Yeah, okay, I vaguely remember that, right.
Because you had requested it,
Right.
and we had gone through and we had
Okay.
done that
Okay,
with our equipment. But I was talking to Tanya before this started, and, a lot of our capital outlays have not really for a long time been on really big, heavy equipment. But we're starting to get to the point
Okay.
on some of our big stuff that the repairs are getting more and more expensive.
okay.
And, like a maintainer is probably, I'm just gonna round it up a little bit, I don't think it's quite this yet, but one maintainer is probably $300,000 by itself.
Well, you got some big ticket items, so
Yeah.
you wouldn't expect it to be smooth like some average is
Yeah.
gonna be. So, Judge, I'm okay with what Kelly has in here, but I think maybe if you could bring that spreadsheet in again, take a look at it, and
Okay.
so we can, because you're right, you know, dump truck's one thing, a maintainer's totally different.
Well, and on that dump truck too, I kind of wanted to add to the court, that dump truck had been purchased probably a year or two before I actually started working at the county, and I have driven that dump truck quite a bit. And it's a tandem axle, so 2 axles, 12 to 14 yard dump bed, so it's a good size dump truck.
Yeah,
I don't know if they ordered it and had it built. I'm leaning towards I don't think they did. I think that they bought it. It was existing inventory. And if you've got a full load in that truck and you try to pull one of these hills, the pucker factor is pretty high. It's got a 4-cylinder Detroit diesel in it. If you don't know your gearing on that truck and you don't drop a gear and you get halfway up a hill and it decides to stall, you're in trouble. And it has always been a problem. The new truck that I got a quote from Longhorn International, I think the one dump truck that we have is a little over 200 horsepower, and the International, I think, is rated at 475 horsepower. It is also an automatic, which adds extra expense because we are quickly finding out new employees don't know how to drive stick shift, and they no longer make a whole lot of stick shift cars, trucks out there. So you either keep burning out clutches, which we're doing on some of our manual transmission, and have to replace. But the only ones that know how to usually drive that stuff are ones that are raised on a ranch or on a farm. So, but anyways, that is one reason why we are submitting on that dump truck. It's very underpowered.
Okay, makes sense. Okay.
And Kelly, I'm not complaining. I'm just sharing. I think everybody in this room, everybody watching on YouTube knows I don't like surprises. And when the budget comes in, and I'm working on trying to do a budget, I don't like surprises. Ranchero Road, we knew the minute that ice storm hit, we were in trouble.
Yep.
And we knew we were going to have to do something. And of the 4 significant variances in your requested budget and my proposed budget, that's the only one that I knew about before we get this. And so, what I'm saying, I'm not telling you we don't need a dump truck. I'm not disputing that. But I'd like to know about it as I'm preparing my budget, that we're going to have bigger capital requirements for road and bridge than we did the previous year.
Yes, sir.
Same thing if we're going to make a major change in the products that we're going to use to improve the quality of roads that we're building. I'd like to know about that.
Okay.
And when you see a trend towards the aggregates creeping up, don't have any problems with the fuel. We all know what we pay for gas at the pump.
Yep.
We saw that coming. You didn't have to tell me that. But these others are things that I would like to know before we get to the workshop like this.
Okay.
Well, all that's affected by oil prices and getting it here and all. You spent about half this year, as in most years, on equipment repairs. So you're talking about equipment repairs. So year to date, you're at 73,000. Normally you'd be nearly twice that. Is that because of, what is the reason for that, you think?
Well, we have somebody who's in the shop that so far seems to be pretty good on repairs, which I think that kind of holds with that. And the other part of it is we just started our seal coat season, so a lot of stuff is going out on a daily basis. It's kind of like if you look at our fuel right now, it looks like we probably are over budgeted and we're sitting pretty high. Same with equipment repairs. When we start sending all this stuff out to various roads and all the equipment you need to seal coat a road, you start having more and more breakdowns from about May, June to the end of the budget. That's where a lot of that money gets spent. Equipment repairs and fuel, the majority of it starts spending fast in like May to the end of September.
That answers my next question.
Along with rock and oil.
Yeah.
You're not
So you
gonna
got
usually
another
see too
thirty-five
much.
thousand you expect to spend before the end of this budget.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's why, you already answered why. Okay. That's all I had.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shriner Road Trust. Who's gonna talk about that?
Well, it basically is money in the bank.
Yeah, right.
Money in the bank.
Nothing
and
requested on
It was
it.
losing us money and now we're not losing money anymore. But we haven't used it in a while. We're trying to wait for it to build back
Okay.
up.
County engineer. You're coming in under what I recommended, Charlie. I like that.
Good.
And the big increase was in conferences, and I guess that was because conferences didn't happen.
We didn't have any last year.
Okay, so
Yes,
therefore,
sir.
and that looks reasonable to the rest.
Another increase that you'll notice would be the part-time salary. Last year, we didn't try to bring in a summer intern. So we didn't spend anything on that last year, but I can tell you, we've had tremendous success. We're having it right now with the intern we have right now, doing an outstanding job, gonna be an outstanding engineer one day. And the engineers that we had in the past that came through, we've got one that just recently graduated as a petroleum engineer. We've got another that's a civil engineer working for TxDOT, and that's local homegrown that also went through our program. So we're proud of that, but it's a really good program. We split that with Road and Bridge. So I'm only budgeting for half of that internship. They budget the other half.
Looks good to me, Judge.
Very good program.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thanks, Charlie.
Road districts.
New item.
Okay. And let's move on to.
What is road districts? Maybe,
Okay, so road districts, whenever, the roads are deeded over to the county and we start, they become the county's responsibility, there may be taxes that are still left, property taxes for when they were private roads. And so as that money is collected later on, we still bring it into a special budget.
okay.
So that we are special funds, so that we can show we still spend that property tax money in the manner in which it
Okay,
was
gotcha.
taxed.
And there's, okay, good, thanks.
And the amount shown here is requested is the amount that's for each of these road districts. So I know Kelly and Cindy have been looking at some of the expenses that have happened over the past 5 or 6 years, so that we might can free up some of that, because it was originally coded to Road and Bridge. So we're gonna try to start using this money more in Road and Bridge where possible.
Thanks.
Okay, flood control.
Jane, want to share this?
Yeah, Commissioner Letts, I believe, asked for 100,000 in the flood warning system. I know he's not here to discuss that. The other road and bridge projects we budgeted for 75,000 include Sutherland Road drainage, Fall Branch Bridge, and Bill Creek ditch stabilization. This is a dedicated fund, can only be used for specific purposes, and these are the projects identified that would satisfy that.
Okay.
How much money do we have in the fund?
Great question. Let me circle back to that real quick.
Okay, okay.
Let me ask, while you're doing that, let me ask Charlie a question. Charlie, we don't have in here the thing for increasing the storm drainage from Highway 27 to the river west of Center Point.
Yes, it's not in this budget.
Well, we need to put something in there.
I've got some numbers from the past.
Yeah, that's where,
Charlie, right here, if we need.
yeah, I think it was $1 million, as I recall.
To answer your question, Judge, we expect to end the year with about 200,000 in that account.
Good.
I think we had to purchase some land and do drainage both. I think it was, your estimate was like $1 million a couple years ago.
Yes, sir. I've got, I think in 2019-20, it didn't get funded, but we did talk about it in the budget workshops. State Highway 27 drainage in Center Point and Comfort, various locations, so it's not just Center Point, but also Comfort area, $1.5 million. It was unfunded. It could be a possible Texas Water Development Board project or hazard mitigation project. We haven't had those capital discussions.
Just for the court and the public, what TxDOT's done is they fixed the drainage to the north side of Highway 27, then blocked the culverts, okay? Because we don't take the water from the south side of Highway 27 to the river. So all of a sudden we've got a dam that was created there. And so I think I think I'll put something in the budget. We'll take it out or not, I don't know. When we get to the end of the process. I think we got to put your number in there, Charlie, as a placeholder anyway.
Okay.
Okay?
The 1.5?
It'd be $1.5 million and then,
Yep. Right. See where it goes.
That's gotta be, we can't pay for that. That's gotta be something we find grant.
Well, we can't ignore it either.
Yeah.
So we may have to pay for it. That's my point. You know, we have a rain like we had in 2008, 2002. We had 3 feet of water. You couldn't even go down Highway 27. Okay? And so TxDOT did their part. We just haven't done our part. So my recommendation, put something in there now, and we get down to the end, we may have to modify it, but I don't think we should lose sight of it and not have it in the budget. Or at least a placeholder for it. Do you agree?
No, I don't.
It's a big
Charlie.
placeholder. It breaks the bank.
Well, we won't know if it breaks the bank till we get to the end.
I think we pretty well guess.
Well,
this
no, I
point.
don't know that. I don't know that. That's, I don't know that at all. Well, we can't keep ignoring that problem.
Well, I'm thinking that we find a source for,
Well, I agree with that, but if we can't find a source, just like the airport, they took all the money away from us this year and moved it out the middle of Odessa, okay, for the next 2 years. They may do the same thing on flood control. So, if they don't have it, we're not doing our job if we don't at least recognize it's there.
if we had a plan for doing it, for example, buying the property in 1 year, and that's this amount, and then the next year this amount. It's gonna be in stages. It's gonna be slow anyway.
If it floods, it floods, whether we stage it or not. Fall off the roof.
No, your point is well taken.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, so anyway, that's, somehow or another in this process, we can't put our head in the sand or in the mud. Or in the underwater.
Commissioner, is that something that we want to get with maybe someone like Grant Works and ask them
Sure,
if they're,
absolutely, go to every
can,
source we
can,
can
can find the funding for us
Right.
for that?
Sure, absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
I think the latest funding that has come out is through the Texas Water Development Board that didn't exist in the years past when we were trying to look at this problem and trying to figure out how to get it funded.
Okay.
So they may have some insight for us on that.
Sure. Any place we could get support or funding, you know, absolutely. Good.
Provided that we had funding. That's not something that Road and Bridge would do anyway, is it?
Mhm.
No,
So
it
we'd
isn't.
have to bring in somebody.
Oh, well, yeah, well, I don't know.
You'd
Even
want
if we
to,
had the money, we can't do it.
Very good.
We don't do that kind of work.
Good. Open up.
this is big time work. You're going to need a contractor to come in that has the ability to,
Now, is that 1.5 include a contractor?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that's engineering, contractor.
And construction.
Everything included.
Yes, sir.
Add-
And it's a
add
it's a
this
rough
year.
estimate. I think
Right.
once you get an engineer on board, then they can really define the scope
Right.
more definitively and give us an engineer's estimate, tell us what they think it's gonna cost.
TxDOT did the engineering for us first, rough order.
First, yeah,
Okay,
right.
rough orders. And what needed to be done, how much depth of the ditch needed to be improved, and what the cost would be based on cubic yards of dirt at that time.
Right, and they had made the improvements on Highway 27 where they installed the infrastructure under the road, but then they blocked off the portions that can't be used because there's no place for the water to go. And once the rest of the drainage area gets built, whether it's a drainage ditch or storm drainage pipe, then those areas can be opened up to let the water go through.
See, my point is, we've talked about this publicly for a long time now. And if we had a major flood and it was pointed out that the county didn't ignore this, that wouldn't be good, and flooded a bunch of property or homes or people or whatever, okay? It's a serious matter. I think it's Sutherland Road, before TxDOT did their work, Sutherland Road and Highway 27, there was 3 feet of water standing right there at that intersection. Highway 27 was closed. It flooded in Center Point at minimum,
That's right.
about 3 feet. So it's, that water, we just spent, $7 million at the airport to take the water coming off the hills, going underneath the runway to the river. I mean, we didn't pay for that, but TxDOT Aviation paid for it. I think it was $7 million, something, it was big, Huh?
Well, 12 million included the 1,000 foot on the runway.
12 million, okay, so it's 12 million. So, we've done all these things getting the water to, and as a matter of fact, that one goes all the way to the river, on the airport. It's a big ticket item. And as water comes off those hills, that's the reason that valley is through the Guadalupe River Valley, for a reason.
So what line would this go on?
It'd go right here.
675, 80?
Well, I don't know which line item's gonna go on, maybe it's a separate one. Flood, it'd have to be a different one, okay?
Yeah. Well, you got.
It's
you got
not
the
flood,
warning
it's not
system.
flood warning system, this is flood control, but, and I agree with Commissioner Letts, we've talked about that for 4 or 5 years. Flood warning system, that's again, that's a safety thing, but, I don't know, we'll let Tanya and
We can
Charlie-
create a new account.
Huh?
We can create a new account.
Okay, all right, and we can choose to eliminate it if we want to, but we ought to choose to.
Just to clarify, we want to put 1.5 million in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least that's what I'd recommend.
Anything else on flood control? Okay, let's move on to parks maintenance. Just looking at it, Shane, it looks like to me it's pretty predictable and pretty constant.
Yes, sir. The only one I changed was operating equipment. I dropped it 1,000. I don't need the 4,000 for that particular line item.
I don't have any questions on that, but I think when we get to page 23 on parks, I'll bring up something there. Probably hold off
Okay.
until we get to there.
Okay.
Otherwise,
Okay. So, thanks on that, Shane. Let's move on to courthouse and related buildings.
Okay, no really big changes there. Custodial supplies, no, I'm sorry. The juvenile detention, requested budget was 14, and I was requesting $16,550 for that one. we have had problems with ACs and other plumbing issues out there as well. I had initially dropped it pretty low when I first took over, but I with the intention, well, we have a building that's totally not being used right now, so we lowered the ACs, everything will be great, and that didn't work. You know, they're still on, they're still operating, they still break down. So that a little bit error in my judgment, I guess.
You know, we look at the actuals and the budget request and what the judge recommends, well, let's
One
the same thing.
Yeah, one question I have is, we're about to close on 550 Earl Garrett. How's that gonna affect your budget? I know you've got a request for a new employee.
Well, as far as the maintenance on it, I don't know that yet, because you walk into a building, it's supposed to be pristine, everything's supposed to work. So we shouldn't have electrical problems, we shouldn't have plumbing problems in a brand new, basically, I would say a brand new building. Even if you have brand new ACs in it, I have seen brand new ACs break down. And if there are, they should be under warranty.
I'm just asking you so that we keep it on the radar screen.
Right.
Is that, and we will be coming online, hopefully at some point, if the bond issue is successful, in having a building out in West Kerr County that we would own.
Yes, sir.
And then I'm just reminding you, all these things are coming, so keep them on the radar screen.
Yes, sir.
That's a good point, Judge.
Well, and the 16 acres we have over behind Road and Bridge,
Mhm.
and we're talking about putting the animal services over there, and there may be some other things that we know.
But that would be kind of the same thing again, a lot of stuff under warranty. You're basically talking about custodial stuff at that point, right?
Yes, sir. Well, even at animal services right now, we have a custodial that goes over once a week
Yeah.
and cleans. And that's all of our outbuildings right now, that's what we have, custodial service once a week at these locations. And I was going to touch on that along with my request for the extra employee, was to up that to at least twice a week, along with, when we get, getting this employee, we also eliminate the night crew that we have. So, and have these extra person come in early and clean these off, like tax office one morning, county clerk the next, before they open for operations. That way we're not interrupting their employees. And I think it was one of the reasons why, or I believe one of the reasons why, that they had a night crew, because they were interfering, trying to clean. They couldn't clean when people were, when they're open 8 hours a day. There's customers there all day long throughout the day. So it was hard to move these people out of the way. Clean a spot here, and well, I can't do that. Clean this spot because somebody's in it and they're working. So they initiated that, one of the reasons.
Shane, and you have it broken down like, and following up with the judge here, the juvenile detention repairs, animal control repairs. So you identify those specific buildings, so maybe what I'll do is have 550 Earl Garrett is a line item here, just like we do other buildings, and keep adding those buildings, so.
At some point, I think we probably will.
Right, yeah.
We
Maybe
had-
not
we had
this year,
some- We had
but.
some unique roof problems over at the juvenile detention.
Right, I understand. But just for Tanya and James, hey, we ought to add something in there for those buildings, since they're ours now. Maybe it's 0, okay, next year, but so we don't forget them. Since we identify other buildings that we,
Yes, sir, I would agree with that.
okay,
I would like to see that,
okay.
I was, had contemplated doing road and bridge as their own line item, but the road and bridge actually comes out of the courthouse budget, but I really don't spend a lot of money at that location
Right.
to warrant having $5,000 or $10,000 in that. for
Okay,
that line
I
item.
understand. Okay, well, that's my only suggestion.
Okay, then let's move on to jail maintenance.
And, I did get some bids for the courthouse, and I've been keeping in contact with Commissioner Harris on the Union Church. Regarding the roof, we'd had some wind damage on the roof, and we had talked about that, and asked me to get bids on that. I'll go back to that. The insurance was gonna grant us $6,948 to do the right side, replace the full right side replacement, and then repair the left side. So, and I'm kind of wondering if that a roof that is, at least 20 years old, why would we want to replace half the roof for repairs and not do the whole thing at one time? So we've already guaranteed the minus the deduction, so which would actually be we would have $5,948 for the roof repair as it is right now. So to replace that roof, we're looking at $14,960
That's the total.
as a total.
So it'd be an additional 9,000 or something like that to do the total.
Yes, sir.
There's not insurance money for that?
The way the insurance was worded, a full replacement on the right slope, repaired on the left side, the tiles.
That's what this is from their estimate.
Yes, sir, that's from their estimate.
So we kick in a little more and get a full roof.
Yes, sir, a completely new roof with, with a warranty that comes with it.
I'm just trying to do an apple-to-apple comparison here, Shane. The 6,948 repairs the left side, replaces the right side,
Yes, sir.
right? We double that amount to replace the left side, but we're not getting any credit for the repairs that they were going to have done on the left side anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's some extra money.
I'm kind of curious. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how they did this. You understand what I'm talking about?
Right. So,
It seems like we were getting more service, more bang for buck, doing it the way the insurance company was going to pay us, than just putting a whole new roof on the thing.
well, if we use our insurance money, we're, like I said, we're only out $7,012 to do a whole roof replacement. So we're already going to get the insurance money anyhow. That's what they're going to give us to do that. The extra to do the whole roof is what that was their estimate, minus the insurance money we're going to use. So that was around $7,000 that we would be out of pocket.
Did you get an estimate from a roofing contractor to do half a roof and a repair on the other side versus what they would charge to do the whole roof? Because I would think if they did the whole roof, wouldn't be twice as much. They're there on the job. They got all their equipment. They got the personnel there. For another X percent, you can get the whole job done. You ought to get ask the roofing contractor for that.
The insurance company is the one that did that.
I understand, but I'm saying, from a county perspective, you got so much from the insurance company. You're gonna fix half of it, okay? And to get that work done, you're gonna call a contractor out to do it,
Yeah.
right? Okay? So they're gonna say, okay, it's gonna cost you X, all right? Maybe same price as the insurance company says. And also, they're gonna charge you to repair the other side of the roof. If you ask that same contractor, what price would you give me to do the whole thing, whole enchilada?
But that was the estimate, to replace the whole thing. That was the estimate that they gave. It was $14,960 to replace both sides, right and left slopes. That was the estimate they gave me.
Still not making my point, I don't think.
I understand your point
Yeah.
perfectly.
Okay.
Is that in the budget? In your requested budget? This Union Church thing, or is that just something you're providing information to us about today?
At this early in the stage of the game with my courthouse budget, I don't know that I could come up with the $7,000 to cover the other left slope replacement.
So what you're telling us is this is the situation at Union Church, and that's not reflected in your requested budget, right?
Well, it is, and if granted, that's what I'd like to get done to it, is a full roof replacement.
You've got one amount in the Union Church. Oh, the floor repairs that I'm looking at.
Right.
Okay.
I think Shane needs to go back to the contractor and ask for 3 bids. One to fix one side replace one side and fix the other, okay? Bid number 1. Bid number 2 is to do the whole thing. And it probably won't be twice as much as replacing half of it. So once you do that and then come back and see what that'll be.
Well, we don't have anything on the agenda to be able to do anything. This is just a workshop.
Okay, right.
But we understand the situation, and it seems like to me that what we're saying is there probably ought to be more conversation with the contractors that are bidding on this roof. Just to
Sure.
be able to explain to us the economies of scale here.
Perfect term.
Okay. And also, before, still on the Union Church, it's getting it repainted, the outside of it. It's in need. The paint is actually flaking off in places on the outside of the building.
Is that reflected in your budget?
Not in that, I didn't put that in there. That's kind of what I'm bringing.
Well, these are things that you're going to have to bring to us on an agenda item, because we can't, there's nothing to do about that today. This is just a budget workshop.
Okay.
But I appreciate the information. Thank you.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and move on to jail maintenance.
No major changes there. The requested budget was 12,000. I lowered that to 11,000.
It looks like we're probably going to come in well under budget this year too, on jail maintenance, with the actual. Good. Very good. Let's move on to, the next one is parks. Budget looks in order, but I know Commissioner Moser had an issue
No.
that he wanted to
Yeah, I do,
discuss.
and I think budget looks good. There's a couple of things we talked about, kind of like a while ago when we added flood warning system in there. We've talked with the city and others about putting a pathway. Charlie, I don't remember what our price was on that pathway from the Veterans Hospital down to the river. And county's portion of it was the work done in Flat Rock Park. City was gonna do their portion. What was our part?
When I say we were somewhere around $25,000.
Yeah, I think it was, that's what I remember, okay? Yesterday in the rain, I saw a couple of veterans going across in their little motorized wheelchair through the mud, okay, trying to get down to the park. So I'd like to put $25,000 in there right now in the budget for that pathway through Flat Rock Park for the veterans, and see if we can get the city to do their portion of it, and at least we'll have it in the budget. So, and just go way beyond that, the concept long-term, if we got that pathway down to the river in the Flat Rock Park, then with a very small addition by the city, very small, like a quarter of a mile of concrete pathway, they could connect to 6 miles of pathway for the veterans with their electric scooters, which would be huge for them. So, again, maybe we can get donations for that too, but if we could put it in there now, I think we'd probably go ahead and ask for people to donate to that. I bet we could probably get donations covered. I'll donate to it.
Okay, I think that's all you got, Shane, right? Okay. Why don't we take about a 5-minute break and we'll come back and start with the county clerk. come back to order. I believe we're down to the county clerk.
That's correct.
Yes, ma'am.
There are several.
Let's try to get you at a microphone, either this
Oh,
one or
okay.
one over there, just to make sure that the people
Sure.
can hear you.
Alrighty.
I do get occasional comments that people are talking from out in the gallery and the folks on YouTube can't hear them.
Mm-hmm. Tried sometime, that is really true.
So, good morning.
Morning.
For the agenda, we've got listed county clerk, records management, county clerk tech fund, court records preservation fund, records management preservation, records archival. Those items are all in the county clerk's office. I wanted to go over 5 major points.
Just talk about each one separately, since that's the way we have.
Absolutely. So on the screen here is the organizational chart of the Kerr County Clerk's Office. There's myself and then 12 other employees, so totaling 13. It's kind of a list of just touches on what we do. If you can scroll up to the first page, thank you, James. This is sort of a more detailed breakdown of what we do, where you see birth records, death
I'm
records.
sorry, I can't read any of that.
Okay. I had intended that you all got a copy, but I don't know if y'all have that in front of you.
I thought I did, but,
I had something from you.
yeah.
Do you all have that? There's a couple of extras.
Yeah, I got that.
You do that? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
Let me cut to the chase,
yes.
if I may, just to answer the time. On your, for county clerk, then, line item or 10403, okay? You've
They're
reduced
all
it.
10-4.
Yeah, you've reduced it by 10% from actual to your budget request, and about the same as the current budget. So that's good, okay? I have a question. On when you reduce the group insurance from 103,000 down to 88,000, how'd you do that?
That's the salaries, kind of something what we take care of, depending on what plans each one of their employees have, we may need to adjust that.
Okay.
So it could be something like someone with a family plan who leaves and.
Okay, so there wasn't anything specific, that was a,
No.
okay. And then office supplies you reduced from previous actuals from 19,000 down to 6,000. That's good, but like, that's a big reduction. What'd you do there?
I took office January 1st, 2019, so so 19,008, that rolled over.
It may have been some startup cost, new letterhead and stuff.
Correct.
Like
Okay.
official taking over.
Okay, well, it was pretty high in appreciation. Okay, but, and then my last question is operating equipment, $7,000 was, well, that was just last year.
And that needs to be taken
Yeah.
out.
Okay, all right, I'm good.
What is the bottom line on your administration recommended number, bottom line? I'm looking at 683,132,
What's line item?
the total, under administration recommended.
683,132,
And then
right?
next to that, what do you see for requested budget?
678,
And 871, 678, okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same
okay,
page, because there's a couple of adjustments. If you look at line item
I'm good for that.
10403,209,
Okay. Bonds and
Okay.
insurance?
yes, that needs to be 575. Just want to make sure y'all have that on there.
Yep, we do. James gives us all the right stuff.
Perfect. And then I'm requesting 4,000 in employee training,
Okay.
and then 1,500 for the probate seminar.
Okay.
And I just wanted to emphasize also that I am requesting a retitle reclassification of a current employee so that I'd have a total of 2 admins in the office. And the reason for the presentation today was just to show that what we are able to do. If you go down, keep going down, James. to that page right there. So this is just a picture of all the emails we've sent. This information is all available online over the past couple of years. You can see the total numbers action taken on emails, and then when you scroll down a little bit more, you can see the number of answered phone calls. And then at the bottom, financial statistics, you can see where we've collected an OPR vitals and requests for records, and then also collections for county court of law, mental health, and probate. So there's a total of over the years, how much we have collected in our office, which is quite a bit. I think it's interesting also that in the records department, the land records, this time last year we had collected, I believe it said 249,000. If we go down a little bit. Well, anyway, this year already we're at 317,000 that we've collected in land records alone. So that's a huge increase with just statistically. Yeah, okay, so moving on. If that's okay with the court, would y'all have any other questions on that?
Nope, good.
Okay, so for I have Fund 41, and this is the special revenue fund that we can dedicate to certain items. And
Which page is she on, Jimmy? We're on record management?
Records archival, maybe to the next page.
thank you, Tammy.
What happened to page, so we've been through page 26, 27, 28, 29.
26, 27, 28, 29 are all
Yeah.
special
and all
revenue.
good. Well, let's just go through them, Jackie, so we
Please.
can
Yes, sir.
click them off.
Okay. 26 is,
That's good, 0. Next one, 0. 27, 0. Page 28.
That's the recommended.
Says zero budget as well. A lot
Yeah.
of these dedicated funds, their
Okay.
balances were drawn down over the last few years. We're
Okay.
letting them recover.
Okay, so we're good there. Record management is going up a lot from actuals. We're on page 29.
yes, oh, 29?
Yeah. The old record management preservation,
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up, thank you. This was intended to be used for a new records management system for land records and vitals. However, some things came up that I'm unprepared to present to the court today, so I'm not requesting that at this time.
oh, okay. So you're not doing it.
Not gonna do it.
Okay, good.
That's the shared management.
I believe so. I think so. It says Fund 28. Dawn has some,
We share that fund, so,
Okay. So is that gonna be 0 then?
no, we still have old records management preservation, that's our credit that comes out of there for the entire account.
is that the 10,000?
So what do we do here in this budget line item?
Well,
It remains the same, whatever is in there for this past fiscal year is what we need for the coming fiscal year.
Okay, so instead of 39, instead of 40,000,
Take off
make-
what Jackie added in there and leave it at 39,988 is what it was.
We didn't actually budget what Jackie had originally requested.
oh, so it is 39.80
It
per
was a
shred.
coincidence that your amount.
Oh, okay, well, very good, okay.
So,
The-
yeah.
Never mind, leave it
The
alone.
only bill that goes in here is the shredded, and, you know, it may not need to be 40,000, but, being a dedicated fund, it doesn't hurt to over budget it, you know.
okay,
So leave it alone then, right? 39.98. Okay, good deal. Thank you,
okay,
Dawn.
good.
Okay, page 30.
Great.
Records archival, this is where we're able to take a portion of deputy salaries and FICA expense, group insurance, and retirement, workers' comp, basic life, and then also a book project. I'm requesting later on at a public hearing, I'll present the records archival plan at the public hearing July 12th, but that total that I'm requesting today is $26,751. And so
Is the bigger check or the big reduction in old records preservation actual of 61,000 a year, last year, to 26,000 requests? And that's the reason, it's just you've
fewer
caught up,
books.
you're not as much, what is the,
Fewer books.
huh?
Fewer books this
Okay,
year.
so you're just working them down.
Yes, sir.
Okay, good deal. Okay, good job.
Okay.
All right.
And I think that's got you, doesn't it?
Yep.
Very good. And we'll go to the district clerk.
Good job on that, from actual to current to request.
Yes, ma'am.
Basically, on Fund 450, I'm requesting that my budget remain the same as it was this year. After I looked at my current historical use, I'm right now at 27% of my budget balance left. So I'm pretty much using everything since the pandemic's come out. So on Fund 450, I'm just requesting it remain as I had it for last year.
Yeah, good job.
I do note that the actuals look like they're going to be down this year.
Well, as of right now, I've spent, like I said, I only have 27%, and most of that is in my salary line items, because I just ran a report with James Monday.
Okay.
I do need to bring a couple of things to your attention. One of my funds is going to be going away through the legislature, and that's going to be Fund, yes, 33. Fund 33 is going to be consolidated with Fund 28, which means the district clerk's office will no longer be required to do a archival presentation to the court. They're that one's going away, and they're consolidating that fee into that main records management preservation fund.
Okay.
So come January 1st, we're going to have some fee increases with our civil department, which will be collecting more fees in certain areas, which may affect some of my funds that we have dedicated for it. So I did speak with James, so he's aware of it. I sent Tanya a sheet of what our new civil fees are going to be, and we will no longer be required to send those into the state. I believe everything will come out automatically out of e-file to go to the state, so anything we take in will go directly into the county coffer. And I did look to see if those House bills and Senate bills passed, and yes, they basically all passed. So September 1st, we'll get a breakdown of everything that will be effective September 1st, and a lot of things will go into effect January 1st, 22.
Sounds good.
Very good.
That's 450. Then I have 10,434, the jury fund. Our juries have picked up. As you know, a lot of the monies have not been used in that. However, it is going to kick up, and so I'm requesting that rate remains the same. We're going to have a huge jury trial, a 2-week jury trial in October. So that may take quite a bit of money, because we'll have to pay the jurors, their expenses, meals and so forth when they're here at the courthouse.
So this just a big trial, that's the reason
Well,
the increase?
one trial, but this month we had 2 jury selections, or actually 3, so they're trying to do as many as they can and plea out as many as they can. So we still have to send out the summons, it all adds up.
Okay.
So,
Just more work,
exactly.
bigger budget. Okay.
But I didn't increase this budget, I requested it remain the same as it was for this current fiscal year's budget, because I feel we'll be able to, I'd rather be a little bit over than try to figure out how we're gonna pay the jurors. And one new thing that has come through the legislature as well is we're gonna have a new, when the jurors get paid, they can donate their funds back to the county to a dedicated veteran services office. So that is something new that will be, when we get those donations back. Right now, it's just through, I believe, crime victims and so forth that it can be donated, but starting September 1st, if a juror wants to donate their earnings, they can donate to the
So it
Veterans
goes to a
Services.
specific thing.
Yes. They can pick
Crime
where it needs
victims
to
or
go.
VSO or
Correct.
some designated particular thing.
Correct.
Okay, good.
So there's some good changes coming through that will, help different departments, so. I think that's about Fund 18, that's County Law Library, that's dedicated fund. Again, those are funds that we take out from civil fees, and I believe the county clerk also has fees that goes into there. That's what we maintain, the books that they're going to need. Usually the judges request every new legislature year that rules have changed, they get new books on various different things. So I didn't increase anything there. I left it as it was.
Okay.
On this thing you're talking about, Dawn, and this is a question for the auditor's office too. Does that mean there has to be a new, from an accounting standpoint, a new account set up or something if somebody wants to give their jury money back in? Does that do something for your office and theirs, or how's that gonna be implemented?
Right now, the treasurer pays. We have it set up where the treasurer pays, so she actually calculates where it goes, and I'm sure there is a fund set up where those donations go. So that would probably, yes, be a different fund that you're gonna have to keep to the side. And I think only certain things can be used with that money in the Veterans Service Office. So I haven't looked at the bill itself detail-wise, but I just know that that is one of the things that they're allowing to happen with the jurors' donations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
A lot of the departments mentioned were in the general fund, and I think those were the donations go to.
Yeah.
So how many are there that you can designate your jury money for?
I think right now is crime victims, and now this one will be effective September 1st.
So the Veterans Office and crime victims, just two?
Is there another one?
I think there are others on the list. There's a few. I mean,
I don't know, I don't deal with that part of it, the treasurer does, so you'll have to ask her. She's the one that separates them and keeps them calculated where they need to go and
There are
deposits
others.
them in those funds.
there are others on the list, and she's exploring at this time also possibly including animal services, some other departments that the public generally likes to help and serve. So we're exploring options and what that looks like too, in addition to veteran services.
Yeah, these
So
are
that
just-
money would go in the general fund but be paid to, I'm just wondering how it'll work. I mean, it's not a discussion for right now, but I'm curious how it'll be
That's
implemented.
between the auditor and,
Generally, those departments are a lot more expensive to run than the donations we receive. So when they go in the general fund,
Yeah, right.
you can match dollar for dollar if you want, but it's all in a big bucket.
Well, the sheriff regularly gets contributions. Sometimes animal control does, and so.
A lot of the ones that the sheriff has gotten recently go into his dedicated funds, I think for the special response team, the big checks you've been seeing.
Right.
And that's because it's dedicated for a specific purpose, so it would be, it's more or less coming in as a restricted donation.
Well, that's the way this sounds to me.
It's restricted for the whole department, that's what it sounds like, but we will need to look at that bill, I did hear the district clerk say that there are only certain items that can be spent, so we'll definitely make sure they have that.
Now remind us, how much do the jurors get paid a day?
oh, day,
Yeah?
when they first ride is $10, they're chosen, the first day is 20, and it's 20 thereafter. However, grand jury gets paid 40. So,
You're trying to say it's more trouble than it's worth?
and I will tell you.
Oh, not worthy of a lot.
Most people donate
A lot of people donate their money.
Yeah.
We have a lot that donate.
Very good. Judge Harris, County Court at Law.
Good morning. Our budget has been pretty much the same for a number of years, and this year the recommended budget had a number of cuts on it. So overall, I'm just asking that we go back to what we've been using in our budget. And I don't know if maybe the recommended had something to do with the COVID year, which the courts had, of course, we all had a very different year. And we didn't spend a lot of money that was allocated. But we are moving back into live and jury trials and conferences. Employee training, it's 216. We've had 3,500 in there, and it's cut to 2,000. I don't know that there's anything more important than having your employees trained. Court coordinator and court reporter need to be very aware of all the new laws, best practices in the state. If they get reimbursed then from another source, then that money just goes back into the general fund. We don't use it for anything else. So I'd like to just have what we've been having for the last number of years. Let's see.
Are we on page 39, James?
37.
37.
And the only really big variable is the indigent defense.
Okay.
Yes.
Other than that, we're talking about minor adjustments.
Okay, and let's talk about that. The budget was recommended at $45,000, and I know you'll see in our notes, the jury trials that we have pending all have court-appointed attorneys. They do not have the public defender's office because it didn't exist. So when those jury trials come up, you have an attorney that's been appointed that is not connected to the public defender's office. So I'm just asking that we put the money we had there back into it. We're appointing the public defender's office now, but all the trials that we have set do not involve the public defender's office.
The trials that were already set that haven't yet come to court, that have been waiting in the wings for months.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Public defender's office just started, we started appointing in April. All the ones that we have pending, that have been pending, don't have anything to do with the public defender's office. So I'm just asking that we go back to what we've been using, and particularly that one. That one is
So
a big
Judge, your recommendation was 45 versus 101.
Well, this is the same conversation we had with Judge Emerson
Okay.
earlier. that you may
I was
not
going to
have
say, I'm
seen.
sure he's in, the
Right.
district
Same
judge is
thing,
the same.
okay.
And it's all unknown. We don't know what the impact is
Okay.
going to be, and we understand that. And they had larger numbers, and I think we even equalized out between the 198 and the 216.
Okay.
And next year, we'll know a lot better where we stand with regard to indigent defense.
Okay, so potential PDO reduction, which you had there.
Correct.
So should we leave it at what
I'm
Judge
fine.
Harris is recommending? Okay, good enough. All right, me too.
I mean, at this point, we're just speculating.
Okay,
But next year, we'll have some data to be able to know where we are.
we're gonna get a 3-month sonogram.
Okay,
Okay.
very good. Thank you.
Thank you. May I be excused?
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, and House Bill 66, Judge Harris.
That's just, no, yeah,
Okay.
that's just salary related.
Okay.
There's no operating expenses.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else on House Bill 66? It looked like it's all set.
That's good.
Okay. So then we'll move on to the county jail.
All right, kind of just wanted to visit with you all a little bit about my first budget process here. My mindset going into this budget was to try to stay where I was at or below. At that time, I realized that a lot of my service contracts would go up 3%. Example is the jail medical, 3% on that's $28,000. But through the process, what I did, I used the approach of a team effort. I got with all my department heads where that money's being spent, realizing, you know, they really didn't have any idea. I think Rusty kind of kept the budget, did it himself. But I think it'll help me better next year that now they understand why we spend things and why we don't, why we do different things within the sheriff's office. But in this process, I really want to thank Tanya and James. They were very helpful coming to the sheriff's department and working with me. I've been in constant contact with James. It's been a real comfortable experience this first time. I did provide a sheet to y'all. Just kind of wanted you to have an idea of what we bring in on contracted inmate billing. Also, our commissary account, where it had been changed to the Attorney General's office, where the phone revenue now goes into the county. As I mentioned the other day in Commissioner's Court, our numbers are going up. You know, this morning we were at 230. Where you see that item, I guess in 2020 we brought in $787,900. That was from contracted from out-of-county inmates. Currently this year, we are, as of today, we're at $87,770. That's going to be from the commissary account. But on today's contracted inmate billing, where you see $412,750, y'all see that? Mm-hmm. Okay, I expect us to hit $900,000. It's rising by year end on that. Anyway, with that being said, when I did the process, like I told you, I reorganized part of the department. I've kind of taken money and moved it around.
Sheriff, let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
So is all these things you're talking about, are they reflected in the thing James gave us?
Yes. Yeah. Well,
I think the sheriff was discussing revenue.
Yep.
What you have as expenses.
Right.
Okay, right.
So
how do we?
Just so we didn't,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Apples to apples. You're reporting to us on the revenues, and we know that as an income generator for us. But you're doing it on a calendar year, not a fiscal year, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so when we look down there at the 414 year to date, that really is for the first half of the year.
Yes, sir.
And you expect that to probably double?
Yes, sir. Sure.
And maybe increase?
Yes.
With the inmate count?
Yes. Yes, sir. So now getting to the budget, at the time I submitted my budget, the only thing I changed, but we actually lowered it by $340, is we have 5 leased towers, and we pay for 4 of them out of the sheriff's office. Didn't realize the 5th was paid out of the auditor's office, and we're going to check into that. So that being a $12,660, I don't want to call it an error, but a mistake on my part for not seeing it. But what I did is I got with James. He's very helpful. We rebudgeted some items and took some out and used other resources. So it's not going to make it's actually saving $340 in the end on my budget. So what I'm saying is I came in under last year's budget. You know, I feel very comfortable with it. I'm open to any questions y'all may have. I made you a little packet I highlighted that has remarks on some changes I made. These changes I made, I think, are going to be very efficient and effective for the sheriff's office moving forward.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes, sir.
512,331 operating supplies. 50% increase, why is that?
Yes, sir. Okay, if you'll fall back and look at the sheet I provided, 331.
Well, we didn't go through all the sheets you provided in the background, Sheriff, so.
Okay.
Just an explanation.
Okay, for current year, due to the reduced amount of revenue coming into the commissary account, like I mentioned before, I've lost that revenue in the commissary account. It now goes to the auditor's office. So for that reason, I have to pull things I pay for out of the commissary account and put it in the county budget. So I'll read it again. Due to the reduced amount of revenue coming into the commissary account, purchases are being paid through the budget. Also, the price increase of 25% or more on different items due to COVID. I can give you my perfect example is gloves were costing us $40 a case. They're $300 a case now. Checking into that, they say they'll come down. When that question is, I don't know. We did not buy the $300 set gloves. We bought even worse ones, but basically they're not very good quality.
So basically, an operating supply is going from 30,000 to 42,000 requested. That was because you're not using some of the commissary?
Yes, sir.
funds for that, is that the
Exactly.
reason?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The sheriff, the prior sheriff has been very generous in paying for a lot of things out of his commissary account over the last couple of years.
Okay, yeah.
We're kind of dwindled that down, so we're having to move some of those expenses back in general.
Okay, I understand. Okay, all right. Another quick question. Same thing for postage, is that the same rate? Well, it was from actual, went from 5,000 to 10,000 requested. Current budget's 14,000. Why the big increase? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not on.
Yeah,
I'm on the wrong line item. That's medical exams. I know, answer my own question. Okay, forget that. Maintenance contracts. 512,457.
Okay.
Big increase there.
Yes, sir. Okay, this line will cover maintenance agreements for jail generators and jail cameras. Johnson Control and Guardian RFI were moved from the commissary account. Once again, the account where they were being paid for, the commissary account, I'm bringing them over to the jail.
Okay, so the same thing.
Exactly, yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha, good, thanks. Okay.
In this handout, Sheriff, you adjusted most of these numbers downward,
Yes, sir.
and ammunition is completely gone.
Yeah, well, what I did in visiting with James, when I missed that tower, $12,000, I've got another fund, Leosi, that this next year I'm gonna purchase that ammunition out of. As you know, ammunition is really, it went up basically $1 a bullet. So, we're gonna use another account, then next year I'll reevaluate and come back at you.
Answer my questions.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Very good. Let's move on to Sheriff's Department.
I just want to make sure they had ammo. That's what I was.
We have a dedicated fund that for that.
Now we'll look at the
Low
contingency.
John.
Okay, so same thing here. If y'all got any questions, like I said, mainly here I realigned some funds, to be more efficient and effective. I feel. And, you know, we were lower than, I did keep this under last year's budget, overall budget.
I think all the put and takes. Good job.
Okay. Anything else on the Sheriff's Department?
Nope.
Let's move on to Sheriff's Annex.
This is just a single account that covers the utilities at the annex, and we budgeted to anticipate.
That's good.
Okay. In jail expansion project?
Zero.
This is money that's been left over from the CO, I think it was 2015, and the project is completed. And we're hoping to get this fund closed out this next year.
Okay, good.
Zero would do it.
And then we got SO donation fund. It's zero.
Good.
What we'll probably do here is, as for the current year, we've been certifying new revenue as donations come in, and we can budget this at the amount that we finish the year at.
And then the SCAPP grant.
What is it?
It's a statewide criminal alien assistance program, I believe. I don't know if it's for notifying.
I mean, is it transporting people? Is it contacting folks? Is it
No.
arresting people?
It's
State
just,
Criminal Alien Assistance.
yeah.
What is it?
State Criminal Alien Assistance Program?
Yeah, I haven't used it since I've been in office.
What is it? Is it a goodie bag or what is it?
Well, I just looked up SCAT grant, and that's what came up.
I'll look into that, and get back with y'all.
Yeah. Is that going to impact our budget?
It's not
No.
going to.
Yeah, no.
I'm curious to know what it is, if it's in there.
If somebody puts an acronym, they don't know what it means, it's always a red flag. I agree.
SO law enforcement.
Big increase there.
Yeah, this is, there's no change, it's just a fund where we've been bringing money to support my SRT team.
This is also the equipment donation.
Say again, Jay?
This is also the equipment and donation fund that he receives.
Okay.
And courthouse security.
This one in the past, I think, was kind of a group project between the judges and the sheriff. We had a list of projects in the past that I don't think we, other than the generator being moved out front, I don't think we ever started.
This is a requirement by, I don't know how many sessions ago, that there was a security committee that was required.
Right.
And I don't think that we've met since Judge Williams left. I think that he was the chair of that committee.
He was.
But if he'll, so we haven't met since Judge Williams, Rusty, or maybe even our former IT director was here. It's been a long time, so it might be a good idea to
I believe there's a fee that's collected in criminal court called the Courthouse Security Fund.
there is.
So I would imagine those funds could be looked at by the committee
So
to be expended.
that would be a good conversation to have with Judges Patillo and Emerson about getting that committee back together to discuss how those funds can be used to better security in our courthouse.
Well, if you look at it, it's year-to-date actuals about the same as budget request, so it says that it's being used for that purpose.
I believe the amount we had budgeted to move the generator was significantly under what it actually cost us. That security improvement, I think, had 3 or 4 projects in it, and we only accomplished one.
Okay.
The judges, Judge Harris is the door between her office and.
Bob paid for that.
Yeah.
I remember when he offered to do that.
This was for, I think, magnetic keys for everybody, and I think something with the phone system where you could do an intercom and announcements and things of that nature.
That we haven't done.
How was there, oh, never mind, I see the answer my own question. Forget it.
Okay, unclaimed capital credits. Thank you, Sheriff.
This is something we received from the state, money that goes unclaimed for, I think, electric co-ops, gets distributed to us, and we use this to cover our portion of the Economic Development Corporation, or a large portion of our share of it.
Okay. Then 2015 jail bond.
Okay, from here on out, I believe these are all going to be debt service. We have updated all the principal and interest payments for each of the certificates of obligation and bonds that we have issued in the past.
Okay.
It's more of a formality, but we have to pay a specific amount.
Right.
This is what it is.
And then the next one is the Texas Water Development Board
Same thing.
The same is going to go for the remaining departments.
and the Lake Ingram Road District
That's correct.
and the 2021 tax notes. Those are the tax anticipation notes that we took out to purchase the properties for capital improvements.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then the 2012 certificate of obligation and refunding bond.
Yes, sir. I think we're moving out of the 2012 CO. I believe that's paid off.
Okay.
And this will become the 2020 refunding bond. debt service payment.
Okay. And then the Clean Water SRF 2012.
Statewide,
Revolving fund,
Stormwater.
yeah.
Okay, and then finally, the 2014 certificate of obligation.
yes, sir, and I believe we've made our final payment on that as well. That-
Yes, that was part of the consent.
Okay, that's the reason. Okay, we've been through the budget workshop. Is there any other comments or things we need to hear? And we will be adjourned.
I said it would be 2011, I still believe for that, but I postponed it.